In this shot, you can see that we're on this vast prairie. I'm standing here on a lek mid-morning after the chickens have gone. We just witnessed an amazing display. We're on the Hoeme Ranch, which probably has more prairie chickens per acre than any ranch anywhere in the whole range. So when we think about prairie chicken and what are the main challenges to the prairie chicken, well, one of the largest challenges is the conversion of grassland to agriculture. And so the prairie chicken is now limited by habitat, meaning it doesn't have enough prairie to grow its population much, and also by fragmentation of remaining habitat, whether that be by interspersed agriculture, energy development, ranchettes, etc. It's just kind of nuts that you have these massive prairie ecosystems, which there's only like 1% of grasslands left in the whole world. And we have all these environmental services out here, and not just the prairie chicken, it's about everything else that's out here, all the grassland birds, the carbon sequestration, the water filtration, the clean air that everybody on planet Earth needs, and yet we give no value to these services, literally zero.
Being a conservationist side of that deal is you get people, your left or right or whatever, and that's how it's not that way. It's just, I enjoy life, and that's what it's about. And then I like wildlife, and I like to share wildlife with people. Yeah. And I want my family to be able to enjoy it too. And so
the cattle industry is more romance than it is economics. Why do you do this, or what do you think is the most important thing? It's like it's not even really money. It's like just the way of life, and to continue like instilling that work ethic and the importance of animal husbandry and taking care of things other than taking care of yourself 100% of the time. Like learning that other things are important in this world. Like there's a really high moral set that you get from learning about agriculture. So, and kind of teaching our kids about that is really important, but I think it's good to teach other people about it. My dad does a good job of that with like the prairie chickens, and people come on our ranch and say, these prairie chickens are so nice, like you should probably never graze this grass. And it's like, no, if we didn't never do that, we wouldn't have the species out here that the prairie chickens have evolved, because they used to be following around the buffalo herds, where these species have evolved to be grazed. And so we don't want to just throw everything out the window just because we think it might be right. Like it has to be sound science behind it.
We're trying to make money by feeding the cattle and then taking them off the ranch and processing them all the way to be processed as in sold as in beef at that point. So
they come to us as young calves, and they're just spending like half a year on the ranch, and they're gaining weight as they're here. And then when they get to the feedlot, they usually gain a little better, because they just like have that time in the frame and that they've spent on good quality grass. It's kind of what they're just out there on the ranch. I just think there's less disease pressure out there too as well. So they have just overall better.
Correct. They're on vacation.
Yeah. Like people talk about like factory farms nowadays, and but no calves are born in feedlots or on like a factory farm. Like all the calves are born like on Gardener's Ranch and on like ranches like ours. Okay. And then the calves, like once they're about a year old, they're like any other animal, they're going to get weaned. They're going to get pulled away from their mother because it's time for their mother to produce another calf. So when you wean them, you can do two things. You can either put them on grass and grow them a little bigger, or they can go to the feedlot where they just get finished on grain. And so like ours are coming in a little over weaning weight, but some of them go right to the feedlot and some of them go to grass. And so like ours are coming to grass, like they're going to be in the feedlot for less time. Some of them that go right to the feedlot, they're going to be in there a little longer. So, but that's kind of how your beef cycle works. That's part of why we went to DC though too, is to kind of fight WAFWA, because WAFWA actually, the first year, we were actually enrolled in a federal program where WAFWA said, in order to negotiate with us, you have to get out of your program to even come negotiate. And we wrote them a check, and then they offered us a pretty shitty deal. Pretty drastic reduction in numbers, and we're going, this is the deal we're gonna have to face with the federal government or so-and-so saying, this is gonna be your best conservation plan. We're like, we're not gonna touch this thing.
Yeah.
No way. But I mean, it just left a really bad taste in our mouth about, okay, you gotta go and you gotta pay back this to even come negotiate with us on a longer term deal, and then you turn around and pay the money back, and then we get offered a really crappy deal. Like, it was to hell with that. We're never gonna do it.
Yeah. How does that work?
Well, it was like, we're gonna pay you $100,000 up front in the program, but it's gonna be 10. But it's a 10-year deal, and it looked good up front, but it was like, we're gonna lose money on the deal because we're gonna have to stock so light.
I like wildlife, all wildlife, and literally, we're talking about benefited chickens, and but like, we talked to the Farm Service office and some of those people, the NRCS and them, and you're not just benefiting chickens, you're benefiting everything. If you're in a conservation side of this, you're benefiting the birds and the bees, but we have all kinds of wildlife that come through. He's a used car salesman from Oklahoma. Yeah, trying to sell us some blue skies, and I was like, oh, what the hell, let's try. If this goes through, that's what we could do. And I said, well, if it goes through, it'd be a great benefit to our ranch. And we had lots of notes at that point in time to trying to pay off on the ranch. And Wayne put a lot of heart into it. My heart wasn't quite as much as what Wayne was. And then he was trying to talk me into going to D.C. And I said, no.
It was interesting. When a guy, I think I was like 23 at the time, and a guy offered me a free trip to go to DC, and I'd never been there, and I wanted to go see all the sites. And I got to see like the kind of behind the scenes of lawmaking, and it was kind of interesting because a lot of people we were meeting with were my age. That staffers that you meet with, and they sit there and they take notes, and they go, and you're going, are you ever going to talk to your boss about this? Or so it kind of, you come and you go, and you're like, I don't know how much of an impact you made, but it was kind of, you at least felt like you being heard by Wayne. And I came in, and Wayne's like, this is my business, and this is my business partner, and this is what we want to do, and it's a conservation deal, and we're trying to help a bird, and we're landowners and mitigation bakers working together. It was just, it just made sense.
People don't want to pay the ranchers for what they really provide. They won't pay a high enough rate. They want to do, and some of the farm bill programs are fine, but if you're putting easement down in property, that's a higher rate. And so Chasten's able to go in there and explain why. Like, look, nothing against farm bill. They do farm bill programs. It's basically leads all these conservation efforts, but if you want to go permanent easement on the ranch, it's not going to be some appraisal or a discount that by 70% sort of thing. It's got to be a real money.
Some of the county were scared at us too, because they're worried that we wouldn't pay any more property taxes. We're still going to pay property taxes on the ranch. It's not like we're shutting things off, and then you hear it on the other side of it, the big government, they're taking over your land. Oh, no, we're still going to operate the ranch ourselves. We still purchase the cattle. We still harvest grass off our ranch. We do what we want to do on our ranch pretty well, except our number of cattle are laid back a little bit more, but we normally did that anyway. That was a normal situation. We wanted to, your grass is the money maker on that ranch, and if you abuse it, then you're in trouble. And so we try not to abuse it.
Again, we're out here on the Hoeme Ranch. It doesn't need much restoration. It's in such great shape, but there are a few trees. And we're working with Blue Sage here, who we work with down on Gardner, and they brought the excavator in to take these trees down. We're hoping these trees, according to research, these trees are going to open up about a 300-foot radius around each tree. And of course, if you have multiple trees, that buffer just goes out and out and out. And we're hoping to increase the amount of usable habitat through this restoration, it'll also give Mr. Hoeme and our banking partnership, several hundred restoration acres that we can be sold in an upcoming credit sale. So this is part of what we do in prairie chicken world. We gotta bring in the big equipment on some of this stuff, along with natural things like fire, etc. on intervals. We got Tino there in the excavator, stacking this stuff up so we can burn it at a later date. This is kind of as pristine prairie as you're going to get.
Stacy, what makes the chicken so special? Why will people come all the way from China to take pictures of the wildlife on your ranch?
I don't know. They just like the grouse. They like those birds that they only active this time of year for about a month here, 6 weeks, and it makes it easy to get a photograph. They're pretty tame. When there used to be hundreds of them, it's pretty amazing. You're down to just a few thousand now but there used to be hundreds and thousands of them. No, it's interesting having these people. How we got started on doing the tour group, we had a biologist ask me about it, and he said, do you ever let anybody on your ranch? I said, well, yeah, we've let people on the ranch to look at birds. And why? He goes, well, do you want to have people on your ranch? I said, I don't know. And next thing you know, we get a group of us start talking about it, and then my newspaper buddy says, well, let me see if there's any desire, and next thing you know, we have lots of people went on the ranch to see prairie chickens 7-8 years ago when we started, and then it's grown. Like the tour groups I only had 3 big tour groups on our ranch, and both of them were from Europe. It's interesting meeting all kinds of people we have.
I can imagine, yeah.
This is essentially preservation acres. You have grass there. The birds, have to sometimes use it.
So it's just complete preservation then.
Yeah, just maintaining the protection of the river.